nahi re. Just the heading is only this big, else it is a very simple standard, yeah, to be really honest. Okay, now listen. The standard that we are taking up is SA 200. Very simple standard, nothing difficult at all. Just focus, you will learn. Listen. As far as SA 200 is concerned, it's a basic standard which is on overall objectives of the independent auditor and the conduct of audit in accordance with the SA. Repeating again, overall objectives of the independent auditor and conduct of audit in accordance with the SA. It means, can I say, this standard basically deals with two things. One, the auditor has to achieve the overall objectives. And secondly, the audit has to be done. How? According to the standards on auditing. So ultimately, this is your second part. Okay. So first, we'll talk about overall objectives, and then we will come to nothing but, yeah, the audit should be conducted in accordance with the standards. Now listen, when you talk about objective, see, in the first chapter of auditing that we had done together, if you people remember, I had told you about objectives of audit. Can you tell me how many objectives are there? Two, correct. Can I say it is primary, secondary? Correct. What was primary? Yeah, correct. Can I say it is to form and express an opinion whether the financial statements are showing a true and fair view? Correct. And what was the second thing? Correct. Can I say it was to detect and prevent frauds and errors? If you remember, I had told you also, although it is secondary for the auditor, it has to be somebody's primary. Who's primary? Management. So who's secondary? Auditors. But what is the primary objective? Correct. To form and express an opinion on the financial statements, whether they are showing a true and fair view or not. So can I say that is his main objective? Acha. Now listen. What is the objective of this standard, which is 200? Very simple. It is to obtain reasonable assurance. Why? So that ultimately I can express an opinion. Now, when you talk about reasonable and absolute, both of them are same or different? Different. Now, why not absolute and why only reasonable? Because absolute 100% is anyways not possible. It is because, can I say, our auditing suffers from inherent limitations. Not only that, internal control system also suffers from inherent limitations. So since there are inherent limitations in an audit, the auditor, is it possible for him to get 100% assurance? No. So the objective for him is anyways not to obtain absolute assurance. He just has to obtain reasonable assurance. And once he obtains assurance, can I say he can make a conclusion? And once he makes a conclusion, what should he do? Very simple, report. So he has to report on the financial statements as it is required by standard. I don't know how many of you remember, auditor's report we people had done. It was covered by SA 700, 705, 706, and if you remember, there was 701. 710 is still left, which we'll take up later. 700, if you remember, was to give an opinion. 705, Modi. So can I say modify? Exactly. 706, two paragraphs. And 701 was on key audit matters. Key matters paragraph, KAM, calm para. So ultimately, can I say we have already done the different types of report? But yes, objective of this standard is, firstly, the auditor should obtain a reasonable assurance so that he can form an opinion. And next, he has to report, and he has to report as per the required standards on auditing. All cool? All cool. Acha, listen. Now, when you talk about SA 200, there are certain requirements. Now, what are the requirements? These are the requirements. Firstly, ethical requirements. Second, auditor has to be professionally skeptical. Hey, we have seen this somewhere, skepticism. Yeah, correct. Questioning mind. That will see in a bit detail, not that much though. Next, professional judgment. I have told you many number of times. If you remember, APJ. What is APJ? Auditors professional judgment. Exactly. That only we have to elaborate. And lastly, conduct as per standards on auditing. I just told you, no, that audit has to be conducted in accordance with the standards on auditing. One by one. First is ethical requirements. Wait, if I want to achieve the objectives of auditing, can I say the auditor and his staff, that is his team, basically have to be ethical? Now, I don't know how many of you remember ethical requirements. There was one question on ethical requirements, which we had done the last time. I will tell you, correct. No, that lehem wala thing was there, no. But that lehem was not ethical requirements. Ethical requirements was below lehem. Correct. If you remember PCPOI. Correct. And you are making fun of it. See, you remember PCPOI. It was not that bad. You remember what was for what? Correct. One was nothing but professional behavior. That I remember. C, I think, competence. O was objectivity. Then this was, I think, independence, integrity and independence. Integrity also. Correct. C was confidentiality. Confidentiality. And this was, I think, if I'm not wrong, professional competence and due care. Yeah, professional competence and due care. So can I say ethical requirements we already know. So if at all the auditor wants to achieve nothing but his objective, he has to have ethical requirements. Ethical requirements will include what? PCPOI. Manageable? Achha. Secondly, if he wants to achieve the objectives, he has to be professionally skeptical. Now, what do you mean by skeptical? Can I say you should have a questioning mind? Now, what do you mean by having a questioning mind? You should be alert to the situations. When I say you should be alert to the situations, you should basically come to know, having that professional skepticism, that it may be a misstatement. I'll give you a simple example. For a simple example, if at all, say in the balance sheet of the company, there is a debtor of 5 lakh rupees. So can I say we people do external confirmation? Now, when you send a confirmation request, that debtor should give you the response, no? Now, supposing that debtor does not respond in time. So can I say it is a delayed response? It has still not come. So it is getting delayed and delayed. So obviously, as an auditor, what will you have a thought? Since he is delaying a lot, there are high chances it may be a misstatement. There is a high chance he may be a fake debtor also. For a simple example, company, in order to increase their profit, they may have increased sales, which are fake sales. So ultimately, fake sales will be debtors account debit to sales, no? So sales are fake, debtors is also fake. So eventually, can I say, if it is taking too much time, then obviously I will think in my mind that it can be a possible misstatement. I am telling it can be a possible misstatement. I am not telling it will be an actual misstatement. Whether it is an actual misstatement or not, that auditor will have to inquire further. Similarly, one more example. Say ultimately there are certain vouchers, but there are missing documents, supporting documents. Say there are no bills, etc. There may be a chance that ultimately I will always think, oh, there are no bill. It seems to be a fake voucher. Oh, fake expense. Oh, then ultimately I hope price. It indicates it may be a fraud, but it is not necessary it will be a fraud. There may be a chance that ultimately they may have misplaced it. So ultimately they are telling, sir, we'll find it and we'll give it to you. So later on, if they give it to us, then can I say it is nothing but genuine enough? Come on, yeah. This is all what I told you in chapter 5 of frauds also. So it indicates it's a possibility of a fraud, but whether it is a fraud or not, that you'll have to investigate further. So what do you mean by having an attitude of professional skepticism? Attitude, though, you know. I'm telling attitude of professional skepticism. So to have an attitude of professional skepticism is to have a questioning mind. In other words, you have to be alert to many situations, and it is nothing but to detect a possible misstatement. I'm not telling actual misstatement, but definitely a possibility. All cool. All cool. Next, if I want to achieve the objective, very simple, I will have to use my professional judgment. So who is going to use? Auditor. Now you use your professional judgment. Why? Very simple. I use my professional judgment in planning and performing an audit. So ultimately how I should plan, that is my judgment, no? Achha, how I should perform, what I should perform, who should perform, that is my judgment, no? For a simple example, if you are my assistant, say there are 2 assistants, you and some other dash. Now ultimately I hope realize what work to give to both of the dashes. I will have to judge, no? So ultimately, can I say that allocation and coordination of the work also is my responsibility, no? So can I say, firstly, you use the professional judgment when? In planning and performing an audit. It is also to be used for various other things. Which other things? One, setting up the materiality level. Arey yaar, use your common sense, yeah. Materiality level we people have done previously. If you remember, I told you, SA 320, materiality level, how does the auditor get? Can I say he has to apply a certain percentage to a benchmark? Perfect. But this benchmark will be decided by the auditor, no? Yeah. So ultimately, to decide the materiality level, you have used the auditor's professional judgment, no? So ultimately, can I say to decide materiality and obviously to assess audit risk? Can I say if you people have more material information, then ultimately audit risk will be lesser and vice versa. Repeating, if you have more material information, audit risk will be lesser. But who is judging that? Auditor. So depending on the materiality, his audit risk also will be assessed. Next, he has to use his judgment to decide the NTE of AP. NTE of AP? Come on here, we are almost on the verge of landing. Correct. Nature, timing, and extent of audit procedures. So what to perform, when to perform, how much to perform, also will the auditor decide. Next, can I say he obtains audit evidence? Acha. Now that audit evidence should be sufficient and appropriate. Now, who will decide whether it is sufficient or not? Auditor. Exactly. See, sufficiency, if you people appreciate, is a relative term, no? I hope, guys, if I have a plate of idli sambar, I hope, guys, it may be sufficient for me. For some people, it may be starters. So ultimately, sufficiency, don't look at me, okay? Looks are deceptive. Looks are highly deceptive, okay? If you feel I'm the other way around. Yeah, whatever. Later. Acha, what I was saying, I forgot. Jai tu Shanti Rak. Yeah. So ultimately, can I say the audit evidence which you people have obtained? Exactly. I hope as ultimately I will have to nothing but make a judgment, no, whether it is sufficient or not, whether it is appropriate or not. So see, next, whether the audit evidence obtained is sufficient and appropriate or not. Next, to evaluate management's decisions. For a simple example, say management told you, "Arey auditor, that expense which we have incurred in traveling expense, now we have incurred in auto. So many times I have told you, in cash, traveling expense. There is no bill. We people went in rickshaw. There is no bill." So eventually, whether to agree to that or not is my judgment. If I tell yes, I agree. If I tell no, I disagree. Okay. And lastly, to evaluate estimates which are made by the management. Now, what do you mean by estimates made? So simple. Can I say management will make estimates like provision, then ultimately provision for depreciation, provision for tax. There are so many estimates which they make. Exactly. So estimates are estimates. No, they're not actuals. So can I say they can definitely differ? Correct. In that scenario, auditor will have to evaluate whether the estimate seems to be reasonable or not. So that is auditor's professional judgment. So firstly, auditor's professional judgment is utilized in planning and performing an audit, and it is also utilized for nothing but other purposes as well. What other purposes are there? Come on, tell me. Firstly, correct. To decide what is the materiality level and the audit risk accordingly. Next, NTE of audit procedures which are to be performed, whether the audit evidence obtained is sufficient and appropriate or not, whether ultimately the management's decisions, whatever they have made, is nothing but proper or not. And lastly, evaluate the estimates which are made by the management, whether they are reasonable or not. Manageable. Okay. And the last one, conduct as per standards on auditing. Now, we have done most of the standards. Arey, estimates here. Who makes estimates? Out of all, you did not understand this part. Who makes estimates? Management, no. Provision for depreciation, provision for tax, provision for bad debts. So they'll make estimates, no. That estimates has to be reasonable, no. You cannot make estimate like that only. You know, if I tell you, come on, let's go for a dinner party, you may make an estimate that bill will be 20,000 bucks. I will never come. So that estimate has to be reasonable, no? 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. That also I'm telling according to me. For you to obviously 50, 60, 70, 1,000, okay? Be happy here. Okay. Now, lastly, conduct as per nothing but standards on auditing. Acha. Now, when I say conduct as per standard, can I say auditor has to follow standards on auditing? Can I say this is duty? Can I say if he does not follow, then he'll be liable to pay penalty? Correct. Now, when I talk about standards on auditing, we have done so many standards throughout. Okay. Now, can I say all the standards have objective? Just to give you one very simple example, say we have done SA 700. The objective is to give an opinion, and in that format. SA 705, the objective is to modify the opinion if there are material misstatements or there is no say. So can I say every standard has objective? Now, if the auditor wants to achieve the overall objective of audit, can I say the auditor should achieve all the individual objectives of the individual standards? You understood what I told? Repeating. If the auditor wants to achieve the overall objective of audit, then he has to achieve the individual objectives of every standard, no? If you want to clear inter-CA, then you will have to first clear every subject, no? Only when in every subject you get minimum 40 and aggregate 50, only then you can have overall inter-CA clearance, no? So same only, no? If the auditor wants to obtain overall objective, then when is that possible? Only if he obtains individual objectives of individual standards. Now do you understand? But remember one thing, for that standard should be applicable to the company, relevant to the company. There may be certain standards which are not relevant to the company only. For a simple example, if I tell you, say something like SA 505, external confirmation. External confirmation can come only if there is an external party. If there is no external party, how can external confirmation come? So will that be relevant? No, like that. Now do you understand? Acha, doubt. What if standard on auditing tells one thing, but law or regulation tells other thing? Which will prevail? Correct. Laws and regulations. So can I say standards on auditing can never override laws and regulations? Laws and regulations will always override standards on auditing. Acha, one more thing. Sometimes the auditor can deviate from the requirements of the standard to achieve the objective. Simple example. We have done SA 505, which is external confirmation. In that, it is told very clearly that all the confirmation should be either in written format or electronic format. Basically documentary, correct? But if I tell you there are certain small amounts, they say for that ultimately auditor does nothing but oral confirmation. Arey yaar, 5,000, is it okay? Is it proper? There are too many small amounts. So ultimately he just wants to do oral confirmation, not to obtain written. Then is it okay? Okay, for once. Why? Because the amount is very small. So is he deviating? Yes. But eventually is he achieving the aim? Yes. But I hope is he going against the standard? No. Because I hope all the material amounts has to be done in writing only. Now do you understand? Okay, then see. Conduct as per standards on auditing. See, the auditor shall comply with all the relevant standards. See, this is what I was talking about. First, it has to be relevant to the company. Thereafter, to achieve standards on auditing objective is necessary to achieve overall objective. Repeating, achieve standards on auditing objective to achieve overall objective. Just like I told you, subjects and inter-CA them. Thereafter, the auditor may depart from the requirement of the standard by doing alternate audit procedure. I told you orally. Why? Still in order to achieve objective. And lastly, the objective of SA, if it cannot be achieved, if the objective of SA cannot be achieved, see why an objective of SA cannot be achieved due to various reasons. Some of the reasons may be the management only stopping you. If you remember external confirmation, take that only now. You remember management was refusing the auditor to send the confirmation. Then ultimately in that case, what will you do? Can I say first you will obviously talk to the management. Management, batao, why are you telling me no? Then correct, you'll do PAP, you'll go to TCWG. Eventually the impact will be on the auditor's opinion. But what if I tell you that all the standards on auditing, management is refusing only to me? They are not allowing me to do most of the cases. It means, can I say they are actually restricting the scope of the auditor? Then what should the auditor do? Should he continue? Correct. Then I hope, rise, if there are too many frauds, auditor will make a decision. Correct. He can also withdraw. So if achieving the objectives is not possible due to many reasons, then I hope realize the auditor should consider actions. And one of the actions that he can consider is withdrawal from the audit. And lastly, the SAs do not override laws and regulations. Laws and regulations comes before standards on auditing. All cool? Three important questions which can come from this standard. One is this: professional skepticism comes in the examination for 2 marks. Professional judgment comes for 2 to 4 marks. And conduct as per standards on auditing comes in the exam for 4 marks. Acha, this I have not mentioned here. Why? Because this we have already done when I did last time essay 220. So there I have already told you this PCPOI comes for 4 to 5 marks. Since it already comes there, I'm not mentioning it again. Come on, yaar. All cool? Come on, copy. Finish it. Essay 200 is not a part of any chapter. It is a part of the subject because it is overall objectives, no? Yeah. So this I will make you mark from nothing but the bare standards on auditing. Very simple, yeah. Very manageable this is. None of the standards are difficult as such, to be honest. Whether it is 320, 500, 230, all of them are manageable. Only thing is it is too much. But luckily, at least for you, 9 standards were not applicable. So at least, yeah, some applicability is lesser. Even SA 610 was nice. Using the work of the internal auditor or using him. Exactly. That also was nice. That is also expected, 610. SA 299 was also there, joint auditors. If you remember, we had done, yeah, joint audit. Most of the cases where joint auditors are jointly and severally responsible, that comes for 6 marks. Advantages of joint audit, disadvantages of joint audit, that comes for 5 marks each. Scoring, yeah. SA 210, if you remember, initial, that terms of engagement. Yeah, exactly, the terms of engagement. There were preconditions in audit. Then, sorry, auditor has to send the letter of engagement to the management. If you remember, ABCD. Exactly. हाँ लक्ष्य ये सब याद है तेरे को. I think Saturday is the last one, no? Saturday we have a lecture, no? Friday, okay. No, then Friday is, thanks for coming. Acha, so it is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh, okay. Yeah, audit committee also. But that was not standard here. But yeah, it was fancy. Hum saath saath 8 seems. Yeah, 7. Internal control we had done so much here. That star and all the Valu Paratha, Achar Chutney sauce, and they help Modi ji in making India corruption free, cashless nation. Come on, you done this part? No. Acha. See, as much as slow down also you people will do now. Eventually, I will finish it on Friday. Yeah. Essay 240 was also nice. Yeah, that fraud chapter full on. Yeah. Some are asking, is chapter 13 completed? Yeah, completed. Huh? Finished, done. So now on Wednesday and Friday, we will just have a jokes session. Exactly. I will do that. 3 standards are remaining. No. So I will have some, yeah, standard I'll do one and then the jokes. Yeah. Mokka jokes. Yeah. Damsharas also. Yeah. Damsharas, it seems. Life lessons also. Apart from audit, you want to do everything in life, don't you? They're like, hi, yeah, we are studying so much in life. Yeah, cookery classes also. Someone like, sir, Netflix लगाओ. पीछे तो है टीवी, लगाओ ना Netflix, it seems. Yeah, Hasina Dilruba, it seems. No, Ray not watched. Money Heist best. Dania. Yeah, Italy one, I know. Oh, I told I'll show her. That is very sad, yeah. Tell me you are not one of them. Thanks. Oh, yeah. She doesn't. Yeah. She does not like any professor. Be it of the Money Heist also. DJ is wondering, am I involved in that conversation? She is having professional skepticism, questioning mine. She is being alert to the situation. No, Yasumo, what is MCU? Okay. Definitely. But first is always like that only, no? Majorly. She leaves everything so early. She is going to take you for a ride, I'm telling you, after the lecture. She's going to bombard you with stuffs. She's like, क्यों बोला तू राहुल को ऐसा? How about it's vice versa also, no? Today's your day. दानिया. नहीं, मैं तो ऐसे ही पूछा यार, मोदी यार. वंश आज क्यों इधर आया सुबह? हाँ, निकल, तू तेरे को निकाल दो. ठीक है रे. Come on, yeah, last 30 seconds. Today, probably the questions that I want to do 5 in one question, and then at least audit of leasing and hire purchase is what I'm trying to finish today. The next time, then whatever is remaining, local bodies and cooperative societies. And then, yeah, standards. And then lastly, I'll tell you the paper pattern, the timetable, etc. and stuffs. Dania. Is you done? Chaitra? Okay. Come on. The last part then. Conduct as per standards. 3 to 4 months, Nikhil, approx. Which floor am I on now? Why? Floor makes a difference, sir. Sir, what is after depart from audit? Depart from here may depart from the requirement of the standard. He will do PAP to achieve the objective. 16th. Dania. Average तो है अपना 15th. What is PAP? Arey, it is nothing. It's a sin that you commit normally, which you just did by asking me. So that is like what is PAP? Exactly. It's okay. It's fine. No problems. Yeah. Auditor may depart from the requirement of the standard. He will do PAP to achieve the objective. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to really see. क्योंकि एक्स्ट्रा है नहीं मेरे पास. I'll still do something. I'll try. करता हूँ कुछ झूल झाल. Dania, come on, come to the textbook, please. Come behind to the standards on auditing, whatever the page number. I'm not sure, but I'm talking here. I think for you it was some 400 something, no, 447 or something. Yeah, somewhere around that only. 448. Yeah. In that we had essay 200 which was pending. Can I say that later is gone? Yeah. Thanks for coming. So now 250 is remaining. 315 also we did no last time. No, that also is gone. Yeah. So what is remaining is 250 is remaining, 550 is remaining, and 710 is remaining. Three standards are remaining. Okay. Now, wherever I take you, go there only. Huh? Don't go anywhere else because you will be lost. It is absolutely like a maze. Come here. Essay 200. Come to the objective. Underline. The overall objectives of the auditor are to obtain reasonable assurance, not absolute, since it is not possible only, that the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud and error. Page number 454. Thereby enabling him to express an opinion. But obviously he expresses an opinion orally or in writing. Writing through a report. Correct. So see, next is to report on the financial statements and communicate as required by standards in auditing. Thereafter, go down, go down, go down, go down, go down, go down. Auditors, inherences, detection risk, everything we have done. This also we have done. This was SA 210. If you remember, this was preconditions of audit. Hello. See, when I say preconditions, this part. Oh, hey, listen. I told you in SA 210 like this, no? Objective are two parts, preconditions and common understanding, terms of engagement. Preconditions is management has to give in writing to the auditor that the preparation of FS is their responsibility, to design, implement and maintain the ICS is their responsibility, and provide auditor with access to all info, access to people and access to all additional information, whichever I want. Then this same part is this part only, no? Same preparation, presentation, ICS to provide auditor with same SA 210. Okay, so don't worry about that. Done. Next, ethical requirements. This is important. But this you already know. How do you know? Correct. Can I say PCPOI? Thereafter, professional skepticism, important. Normally comes in the examination for 2 marks. See, it is an attitude, which I was talking about. No? Yeah. That includes questioning mind, that is being alert to conditions which may indicate possible misstatement due to error or fraud, and a critical assessment of audit evidence. So even if I get audit evidence, I hope realize if I have any doubts, obviously I will ask now that ultimately this audit evidence does not seem to be that reliable. For a simple example, what if management intervenes in external confirmation? Then it is not reliable. The auditor shall plan and perform audit with professional skepticism, recognizing the circumstances that may exist that cause the financial statements to be materially misstated. In other words, I was talking about SA 240. There are nothing but I hope realize those possibilities which indicate fraud if there are nothing but some documents which are missing, like that. So he must be professionally skeptical whenever he's checking the financial statements. Next, auditor's professional judgment, important. The auditor shall exercise professional judgment in what? Firstly, planning and performing an audit of financial statements. Thereafter, professional judgment is not to be used as a justification for decisions that are not otherwise supported by the facts and circumstances of the audit or sufficient appropriate audit evidence. First mark, read again, then I'll explain. Very simple. See, basically, I hope realize when I talk about auditor's professional judgment, he has to normally also give professional judgment on the information which you have obtained. Just because you have obtained information, that does not mean you are not going to have your professional judgment on that information. Supposing I get information from the management, still I have to judge, whether ultimately it is correct or not. So that does not mean ultimately I will only use professional judgment in matters where there is no evidence. I will also use my judgment in the matters where there is evidence to decide whether that evidence is also correct or not. You understand English? So ultimately, is judgment only to be utilized when there is no audit evidence? No. Judgment is to be also utilized even when there is audit evidence. Now do you understand? Okay, come on. Thereafter, judgment is necessary in decisions about many things. Firstly, materiality and audit risk. Next is NTE of AP. Thereafter, to evaluate whether sufficient and appropriate audit evidence is obtained. Thereafter, evaluating management judgment in applying the FRF. So management judgments, they are decisions. And lastly, drawing conclusions based on audit evidence obtained, assessing the reasonableness of the estimates made by the management, whether they are reasonable or not. कंक्लूजन नहीं देना है, जजमेंट बनाना है खुद को, वो क्या कंक्लूड कर रहा है. Okay, come down, come down, come down, come here. Conduct of an audit in accordance with essays. The auditor shall comply with all the essays which are relevant to audit. An essay is relevant to audit when essay in effect are addressed by the essays exist. It means, I hope realize, there should be circumstance for that essay to become applicable. For a simple example, for essay 505 to be applicable, there has to be external party. Only then I can do external confirmation. No, else can I do external confirmation? No. So there has to be circumstance which should be there present. Only then that standard becomes applicable. Next, to achieve the overall objectives of the auditor shall use the objectives in the relevant essays. So to clear inter CA, first you clear all the individual subjects. That's the meaning. However, in exceptional circumstances, the auditor may judge in order to depart from the relevant requirement. In such circumstances, the auditor shall perform PAP to achieve the aim of that requirement. Just as I gave you a 505, he can do it nothing but calling. Thereafter, if an objective cannot be achieved, then the auditor shall evaluate whether it prevents the auditor from achieving the overall objectives of the auditor, and thereby it requires the auditor, in accordance with the essays, to modify the auditor's opinion or withdraw from the engagement. So take actions or withdraw. Thanks for coming. And lastly, in performing an audit, the auditor may require to comply with legal and statutory requirements. The essays do not override laws and regulations. In the event that laws and regulations differ from the standards, an audit is conducted in accordance with the laws and regulations. Come on, yaar. Can I say manageable? Very manageable, yeah. Bus, if you know this much, what you definitely know is essay 200. Bus, now we'll again come back to our chapter number 13, which I'm presuming that whatever was to be written, you have already written. Coming.